My name is THEMBILE. I am a medical intuitive. I use alternative techniques to diagnose and treat illnesses. I've done this for over the years, and I've successfully diagnosed and treated people with the most complicated of illnesses, which have baffled even the best of some of the medical specialists. People call me Dr. Alternative out of NDZINGI. The health industry, or health, has got two dimensions: the alternative dimension and the medical dimension. But unfortunately, these two dimensions don't talk and they don't collaborate, to the detriment of the recipients, that is, the patients out there. I am the epitome of these two dimensions.
Join us on their journey to better health and renewed hope. This is Dr. Alternative.
Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Alternative Show. My name is Carol. The divinely guided medical intuitive and presenter is Thembi. Hi, Thembi.
Hi, Carol.
Thembi, I think the shows have become a weekly educational program for so many people, and the show is known for simplifying all the complex medical information, and so easy the way you put it across for people to actually understand what is happening. You're now coming from a different perspective with our season 3 and our voltage and our oxygen centers starting. So the whole perspective has changed. Is this basically going to replace what you've been talking about extensively for so many weeks, months, and into 2 years already almost? Is this going to be an add-on, or is it going to replace?
Well, it can never replace. It can never replace, because if it replaces in a way, I would be saying I was talking nonsense.
Correct.
Which I wasn't.
Yeah, sure.
Which I wasn't.
Yeah.
People have seen, people have proven it for themselves that the stuff that we're talking about and the results that confirm and validated what I was talking about have actually made people realize, wow, this is something. So what I'm bringing now is another level.
Okay.
Let me put it that way. It's another level of health. And even though it will be coming from a different modality and a different perspective, but it still forms one of the big pots of health, because health is a melting pot of various phenomena and thoughts and dimensions.
Well, I suppose it evolves all the time. As you're carrying on your journey, you'll be presented with whatever improvement or add-on is being subjected to the universe. So you will pick up on that and just add it in as you go. So things will evolve and change and get better and better as your journey progresses. Is this what you're meaning?
This is what I'm meaning. I will not be coming, because everything that is presented or that we present is not something that is our creation or innovation. That's there.
Sure.
That's just that it's never been presented, or maybe not understood, and therefore not presented by other health professionals the way we have done it. Okay. But it's not like it's something that's not there. We're not creating our own anatomy here or our own physiology. We're just bringing in what creation has put together for humanity to survive and to live healthily.
And to be healthy,
yeah. So it's just like where you'll find that a scientist may discover a certain scientific or physical law, and the other one will actually say, and then ends up improving on that law.
Sure.
So because the information, and that is how the universe presents information to us. It gives it to us in piecemeal. That's why you find a child will start at grade 1 and then will move to grade 2 and grade 3 and grade 4. That's nature.
Sure.
Because you have to give according to the bite size ability. of that particular person. So that's what we're doing even now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just think also that as you're speaking, I can just hear the thoughts in people's minds out there. If we had to have what you're presenting now in the beginning, I think it just would have been too much for people to comprehend. Yeah. I think, like I said earlier, as it evolves, I think we get used to things. If we think about cell phones, how they are now, where you can get your email. I mean, 30 years ago, I mean, there were faxes and there were telegraphs. And if you had to say to somebody, well, you're going to have a cell phone and you can get your mail.
Your computer, basically.
Absolutely. You can watch a movie. You can send a message. You can phone your home to check on your security. People would have thought that you were deranged.
Yeah.
So I understand which perspective you're coming from, where I think the universe knows exactly how and when to present things, and from there allow them to grow. Because if this had happened in the beginning, it would just be too much to comprehend.
Exactly.
So you're now being presented with us, so now you can present it to the people that are searching for good health again. Tilly, for someone to say that they're healthy, and we often hear this, what would it take for someone to actually say, I'm healthy, and for it to be true? Yeah.
In fact, this is a common statement that I hear. People say, I'm healthy. I'm just coming to check if there's anything that I should look out for and all that, but I'm healthy. And that is if people are not experiencing pain, or maybe they feel a little tired here and there, but they're okay, they go to the gym, they have appetite, they think they're healthy. But then you will find that those that come and say, I'm healthy, they already know something is not right. Because when you give the results, they can always identify with that. But there are those, Carol, that don't even see the need to go and have chat because they really feel okay. So those are the ones that I could actually be referring to also, not just the ones that already come to see me. To answer your question, what does it mean to be healthy? Okay. Is there anyone who's actually absolutely healthy?
Well, Thembi, unless they live in a sterile environment with no germs and bacteria and no bad air, the right pH water, the right food, all organic, I mean, who lives like that?
No, but people, interestingly enough, that if you look at how people lived in the past, especially in rural areas, they lived exactly like that.
But Thembi, there you going again, back to our roots and back to basics in rural.
That's where you would find a person would claim to be
healthy. Yeah.
But now, basically, theoretically, what does it mean when a person says, I am healthy? Now, when I started, I mentioned about that we are made up of cells. That's how even plants are made up of cells, animals, cells. I mean, living organisms are made up of cells. Now that's how God has created it. The process and the progression process, it's cell production, cell division, cell death, cell, apoptosis program.
Sure.
Okay. Now, for someone to say, I am healthy, you must always be in a position to make new cells.
Okay.
That is, in a nutshell, what explains for someone to say, I am healthy. If you are in a position to make new cells all the time within the structured program of that particular tissue or muscle or organ, because remember, even cells have got pre-programmed production processes and structure, that if the skin has got 6 weeks within which you must have new cells.
Okay.
The red blood cells have got 4 months.
So everything's got a time frame.
Each organ or each part of the body has got a structured program within which it must make new cells and kill and have old ones dying.
Okay.
Cells must die. That has to be. Okay. So if you're in a position to maintain that continuously, you can never worry about illnesses at all. That is the basic meaning of being healthy.
Oh, wow.
Cell production.
But now, if we are ill, what does the body need to regenerate and produce cells?
Okay. The body needs a lot of stuff to make new cells. A lot of stuff. But a lot of stuff that is provided by the universe. For instance, the part that I've covered already about the diet. You don't just only need to have the right type of food, which you can process, which you can absorb, which you can digest. You must have the right factory which processes that food, like your stomach. If the pH of your stomach is too low, and then you're not in a position to break down that food and make it absorbable, in which case you don't have the nutrients. So you can never generate new cells if you don't have protein, if you don't have all the nutrients that are needed to do that. So food comes in big time.
Very important.
But now food can be as good as anything, but if the factory where food must be generated and digested, digested, it has got to be able to do that. Otherwise that food becomes rigid. So, and you can't sort that out if, as I've said, the pH is low, if you don't have the enzymes, if you don't have the right stomach, the stomach itself, like the stomach lining, everything, the connective tissue, the what have you, all that should be in place to be able to do that job. The absorption area, you must be able to absorb that food so that these cells
can be nourished.
Can get that food. Because you may eat it, digest, but if you don't absorb it, it doesn't reach those cells, so those cells cannot.
Timmy, I think the way you simplify things, and this has always been the success point, I think, on the Dr. Alternative shows, to simplify things, to make people understand it. And I think when you talk about cells, and you talk about nourishing the cells, we start thinking so differently. Like, now you mentioned the small intestine where the absorption will take place. And if there are problems there, you could be eating the best food.
Exactly.
And the cells are going to be dehydrated, undernourished. There'll be sick cells. So when you think about it, if it's sick and it's not getting what it needs, how can it multiply and produce in order to regenerate and make us healthy? So it's, as you're talking, I'm just putting the pieces together, and it just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Every part has got its role to play, and if it doesn't play, it's messing up the others.
Wow.
All of them have got to come in simultaneously. Now that's now just the food part of it. Okay, and as I've said, that you find if you don't have you need to have the enzymes, like I've said, a lot people that don't have the aldolase enzyme to process, then you find all that food, then it messes up the brain, it messes up the tissues, it messes up the liver, and the liver produces so many enzymes to break down fats. Take fats, for instance. That the liver produces digestive enzymes to break down fats. Okay. Now those fatty acids must be converted to glucose, because it is that glucose that is the fuel for those cells. But now that energy, that is the ATP, that is what we used to talk about, that the Krebs cycle actually makes you make that ATP, which is like a battery. Okay, now that's charging the cell battery. Okay, because for that cell to be able to have oxygen, to live, it must have oxygen. But then, if you don't have the right food that has been converted into glucose so that you can have the right type of energy, then you can't have that. But then, let's say you have all that, but if you don't have the oxygen plays an immensely important role in that's actually seems to override almost everything. If you cannot, even though you've already converted all that but if you don't have oxygen, then you cannot.
David always makes you think of birth.
Yeah.
The first thing you do, you got all the organs, all the blood, everything in your body that you need. But until you take that first breath of oxygen, nothing works.
And kickstart everything.
As I'm sitting here thinking, I always think, I'm the questions for all our viewers out there. And we talk about cells, and we talk about cells, and we talk about cells, and then we talk about charging and cells and batteries. And I think, is there any coincidence that we have millions of cells because we have millions of body functions that work and trigger and senses and taste and smells that work all the time with these cells? And then we talk about a car battery. I've heard people refer to it as a cell. I've heard torch batteries spoken about as cells. I mean, and cells have energy and have charge, and they have the neutrons and the negatives and the positives. And is there any connection, or why do you think that a cell in the body would be almost the same as a cell in an electrical piece of equipment to make it work? Do you think there's any in the same word cell?
Yes, I mean, if you look, electricity, what is electricity? Electricity is energy. And
contained energy.
Yes.
Okay.
But bottom line, it's energy.
Sure.
Okay. But who has created that energy? That's the universe. Okay. It's God. Now, that energy, because if you look at electricity, it's energy, but then it has got electrons. That's why you find if you switch off the light, then there's nothing. It gets dark. But once you switch on the light, because electrons start flowing, and then you start having the light. Okay. So that's what happens with everything. Even not just if you look at the lightning. Lightning is electricity.
Precisely.
A high voltage.
And yet it comes from nature.
It comes from nature.
You would never expect it, but it comes from nature. So people sometimes try and separate the two into almost like man-made creation electronics, but yet lightning, like you just said, is the biggest source of electricity, and is visual for people to see.
Exactly.
That is so amazing. But just before you continue, Thembi, I was talking about the cells, I can hear the questions coming. And to have batteries and cells, as they refer to them, they're no use to anybody unless they touch. And they're all connected to the device. They can be in the device, but if they're not touching and probing and using the right currents, they're worthless. Exactly. So when I think of the body, when you say certain areas where there can be good cells, but if there is bad cells before or after, or where the blood's going through, no matter how good that one particular organ is, it's no value unless the whole system is working together for the body.
And Carol, you will find that this example that you're talking about, a battery. Now, if you are using your tablet and the battery is not charged, everything is still working, but there's no flow. So the battery that enhances or triggers the flow is dead. So nothing happens. So you can't use it, it's useless. Exactly the same with the body.
Absolutely.
That you've got to have batteries and that energy, which this ATP that I'm talking about, that it actually charges. But then you can't have that. Now, if you look at that energy, it's coming from food and oxygen. But oxygen has also got water molecule in it. Okay. So what are we saying there? We are saying you have got a combination of components that work together simultaneously to give you the electricity that you need so that those cells can produce and can make new ones. The dead ones can move off and the new ones can come. And up until you can maintain that, you are toast. You can eat all you like. You can, if that food cannot be burned and converted into energy, it's useless. It's actually counterproductive.
Sure.
And if you cannot have oxygen that can ignite or facilitate the chemical process, it's useless. So you need to have those components working together to make the voltage. Okay, and it is that voltage that voltage has got to be at a certain level, because, for instance, Carol, you can have a battery and you find the battery is still working, but it's almost dead. Maybe you have to press the remote, play with it.
I was just gonna say, I've done that.
Yeah,
and it only works for a short while.
Yeah, for a short while, then you find it's working.
Yeah.
But it's not dead, but it's almost going. It's going. So you exactly. So you need to be able to charge that battery in order for it to
work 100%.
Which is why the voltage
is so important.
You've got to have a voltage that is when I'm talking about the voltage, I'm talking about the electricity level within your body that enables you to make new cells. Just like the battery. If the battery is flat, it will not play. But if it's at a certain level, it's gonna make you switch on that TV. That's what happens with the body, that you may have, if your voltage is low, you are not in a position to make new cells, but then it's actually worse with the body. Why? Because if your voltage is low, it's not just a case of being dysfunctional as a body, but then it creates an opportunity for the other side to come and mess you up. Now, what other side am I talking about? You must remember that in our bodies, you will know that before I even get to the scavengers that are always sitting there.
Waiting.
You know that people that have got pulmonary problems, they always put on cortisone.
Jamie, that was one of my questions where we were going today.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, but why?
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
Yes.
What is it?
Because oxygen is the only component in the scheme of this combination that keeps the scavengers away. We are sitting with a lot of, in fact, I was actually shocked when I heard that it's not just 1 million bugs within our body. Then the skin. I mean, the skin, if you were to, that's why you'll find that people that have got cellulitis, they will, once they have a small cut, because they are always surrounded with even double the number of bugs that are always surrounding us in the skins anyway. But once you have a small cut, then that gives a chance to all of them to go, and then you find a person ends up having inflammation and swelling up and all that. That's why you find they're in and out of hospital, people with cellulitis. We always sitting with scavengers, Carol.
Just waiting.
Always. Okay. But now they are dormant. They are sleeping because of oxygen. That's what keeps them under.
Is it almost oxygen deprivation?
No, they don't need oxygen.
They don't.
They don't need. They survive on. They don't actually survive on enzymes. You'll find that they use enzymes to survive, so they don't need. So oxygen is a nuisance to them.
So oxygen would hinder them.
Oxygen would hinder them.
Now we understand. Yes.
So oxygen is a real big problem for them. So, but it doesn't really kill them, but it keeps them in check. So they sit there. But once you are deprived of oxygen, which happens when your voltage is low, and when you cannot generate new cells, then the scavengers, because there's nothing now that's keeping them there in check, then they wake up. Now when they wake up, they have to eat something.
Sure.
But what do they eat? They eat you.
Precisely.
That you are their food. Then you start having the inflammation. Then you start having swelling up. You start having all the complications that come with the inflammation. Which is why you find that what conventional does, they must keep you in check by giving you the cortisol.
I see.
So that it tries and contain and manage the inflammation.
But that doesn't fix this problem. That's just also a symptom.
It doesn't. But then the problem, that is why you find that people remain on cortisones and end up having side effects of cortisone because once they stop giving you the cortisone, the scavengers are going to overwhelm the body. So now it's a question of which is a lesser evil.
Sure.
Is it the inflammation or is it the prednisone?
But Thembi, getting back to the body, I want you to take us through this piece by piece. Because if you're saying if we can attain, and keep our voltage up, we will be disease-free, we will be cancer-free. If we can beat the lupus that is destroying people's lives. I mean, one can virtually beat anything if our voltage is right. Take us through that again, just to reiterate. I know you've touched on it briefly, but now you're saying if our voltage is high, and we can maintain that, we will keep those serious diseases at bay.
We will keep them. We will beat them, and we will keep them away. Carol, it's not just the voltage.
Okay.
Like I said earlier on, that for us to be healthy and to remain healthy, voltage is just one component.
Okay, but Thembi, when we say voltage, does that mean our body is not in the wet state, it's in the dry state, where all the cells are touching and everything is working properly, provided we're getting the right nutrients and the right water?
Okay. When I'm talking about voltage, I'm talking about okay, let me make this example. That if, for instance, you have got a 4-bedroom house, people that are electricians will tell you that for that house to be able to service a geyser, a stove, this or that, lights and what, you need such a size circuit which carries so much voltage.
Okay, so there's different circuit sizes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is the amount of electricity that is needed to service that area.
Okay.
That is electricity. Okay, so that's physical science.
Sure.
Okay. Now, within the body, we have got the similar requirements, or even more. In the body, it's actually more tricky than just supplying a circuit and saying, okay, here's electricity, if it trips, and then I switch this on, and then everything runs. But with the body, it's different. Because with the body, you don't just need electrons flowing at no repercussions if it's not flowing. You are sort of caught in the middle, that you lose electrons or you gain them.
Okay.
You don't just lose them. I mean, you don't just gain them without losing them. So whereas in a house, if the switch is off, you're not losing that electricity. That's there. It's just that you're not making it flow. So once you switch it on, it runs. Whereas in the body, it's different. If you're not gaining electrons, you're losing them. You are never at a state where you can say, I'm either this or that. You either receiving them or you're losing them. Which makes the voltage story even more of a tricky situation in the body, because you've got to always make sure you're gaining electrons.
Okay.
And the things that make you gain those electrons are many things, like I've mentioned, that the diet makes you get electrons. The stomach working in your body. Even the acid, the one person when I was discussing this with said, for goodness sake, I mean, because when I was explaining how just the the incorrect pH of the stomach alone, even if everything would be hundreds, but if you don't have the stomach pH, the acid, stomach acid, you have got issues. That's why you find people will say, I don't have any other illness, I only have ulcer, or I only have a heartburn. If you look at the industry, it's a big money spinner.
Billion-dollar industry.
The asset. People are on antacids, indigestion on what. That alone is enough to mess up your voltage.
Sure.
So what I'm getting at therefore is the voltage is the amount or the level of electricity operation that you need to be at to be able to generate cells. But who determines what level? That's God. Yeah. The level at which you need to be at to be able to generate new cells, it's not a creation by some scientist. It's a given, just like we know that who decided that the heart should beat at this rate or the blood pressure should beat. It's not any man-made thing. It's God. God said, this is how I want the heart to beat. This is how blood pressure, this is how much cholesterol, this is how much this you should. It's not some smart scientist who decided that, no, you must. So once you are off that, then you have got problems. It's the same with voltage. That the level at which our electricity should be at, or our electrical circuit should be operating at, is given. And that is between a minus 20, that's the minimum, minus 20, and the highest at which you can generate cells is at minus 50 voltage. That is, so that is given. It's not like I say, that you just have to accept that. But then the question might be, how do I know? Firstly, your illnesses, the fact that you have got pain, or you coughing, or you having this, that's already an indicator. Because when the voltage, and remember, each organ has got, it doesn't mean it uses the voltage of the head. You might find that the voltage is low in the heart, but it's fine in your brain. Or it's low in the...
But tell me, you've taught us so much over the last 2 years, but like we said earlier, if one organ is okay, but the digestive tract or the esophagus before it gets to that organ and after, so if that organ is actually okay, but the voltage before and after is incorrect, it doesn't matter how good that organ is.
It's going to be affected.
It's going to be affected.
But then,
I understand now.
Being affected, you might find you don't need to work on that one. You need to work, like we've said, that you would find a person will have seizures. But the brain has got nothing. The problem is coming from the pancreas. So the voltage is low in the pancreas, it goes and affects the brain. So you need to fix that pancreas so that it stops battering that brain. But the brain itself had no problem. So, and this is still consistent with what I was saying earlier.
It's just that to me, you almost have, well, obviously you know the diagnosis because this has been your speciality, okay, and to dispense and to correct. And you're just taking this to another level.
Yeah.
Whereas you're going to actually go to that particular organ or system and pick up the voltage within that organ.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously still with a controlled diet. And
with everything else. Everything that we've done so far was necessary and is still necessary. It forms part of the whole thing.
So this is just an add-on. It's just another added bonus given to us by the divine, just to enhance and make it even better than what it was.
Even better.
Timmy, this is so exciting.
Even better.
You've been talking about oxygen chairs in past shows, and I know people are waiting in anticipation, waiting for these centers to be started. You've mentioned oxygen so many times as a very important element in ensuring the correct voltage, which now you have educated us a bit more on. Take us through what part that will play with the oxygen together with the voltage.
All right. Now, as I've said earlier, that voltage is just one component. The diet, the oxygen, the state of the body, the water, even water. We are going to have another show on water, on how, I'll come back to the oxygen chair, on how you are actually better off. Because seriously, when you drink tap water, even some still water. There are very few bottled water that we can say for sure. Even water, you will find that people that are taking tap water with all the chlorine and the fluoride and are actually worse off than a person who would just maybe try and find something else to dehydrate, because they are taking away your electrons. They're stealing your electrons. So they're making you worse, than if you didn't drink that water at all.
Are you saying because the pH is not right?
Not only the pH is not right, which is the bone, with the crux of the whole thing, but they're carrying chlorine, which is a toxin, which is an electron stealer. They're carrying fluoride, which is messing up our teeth, which ends up causing another. I will also have a show on teeth and their contribution, because that also forms part of messing up the voltage. Okay. People can tell that those that I've seen recently have said, if you've got metal teeth or teeth, root canals that are rotten, just go and sort out your oral hygiene before we even start with medication. But I will do a show so that people can understand. But coming back to the oxygen chair.
Very much so.
Yeah. Now, people are going to see that these new centers are a combination of oxygen chair and voltage correction.
Is this two separate?
It's two separate treatment programs, but working together.
In conjunction to create health again, yes.
But then also bringing with what we already covered about the diet, what your enzyme, what you can and cannot eat, and So all that is going to take us to another level, Carol, where we will be able to get a person from excruciating pain and within minutes and hours, 10, that pain completely around and make the person not even believe.
So you're saying just by picking up the voltage in that particular area?
Exactly, because that's what happens. Because that's what happens. That if, for instance, you let me make an example. That what happens is when you hit your nail. Say you were touching something. Okay. You were working, and then the nail misses that nail. The hammer misses that nail
and hits the finger. Okay.
What happens is there is a lot of activity. That pain is one of them.
Okay.
But then you find it will swell up.
Inflamed.
Actually, it doesn't get inflamed immediately.
Will that be with
it will just swell up and get reddish.
Oh, yes.
And get sore. But then you'll find it will heat up. Okay. Because what's actually happening is that the reason why it is heating up is that it's opening a chance for new cells because the damage has been done to those cells.
Hang on right there. Is that why things get hot if they hurt?
Yeah.
So you're saying if you hit your hand or hit your nail and it's throbbing and it's all hot, is that part of the healing process?
Part of the healing process.
Wow.
And because then that part is saying, the message is already there that you are damaged.
Okay.
So now we need to build or create new cells to heal that part.
And that is the heat, the energy bringing
it in. And that is what is happening.
But tell me, we try and put under a cold tap to make it...
Exactly, to make it...
So what you're saying is we shouldn't run and
we should actually... But then, this is the tricky part.
Okay.
That if you don't have the raw material to help that make new cells, then you are exposed to inflammation. That it's only at that stage that inflammation comes in.
Okay.
When you are not in a position to make new cells. But then when it becomes inflamed, it's when, because remember, when it opens up and heats up and it's saying, come, make new cells. But then new cells can't be made because raw material can't go in because your situation is so bad. But then what happens? You have created a situation, the body has created a situation, and has attracted and is waiting. Make new cells, but you can't. But if you can't make new cells, then the inflammation. Then the inflammation comes. That is why I said earlier on, in the body we are kind of trapped in a difficult situation, because if you can't bring new electrons, you lose them. So you can't sit without making new cells. It's a dead heat. That's what's happening. The competition is too high. You either make them, and if you don't make them, then something else is going to come and take over. There is no chance for an empty space. Wow. Nature does not allow for an empty space. So if you can't fill up with electrons, then some other guys are going to come and fill up and take away your electrons. So that's what happens. Then you end up having the inflammation. But then besides now, the raw materials are a number of things. And oxygen is one of the biggest.
Sure.
As you know that most people that have got diabetes, they end up having amputations because they can't, those particular areas, the voltage cannot be raised. So it remains low,
so the oxygen can't get there.
The oxygen can't get there. The food, everything, because remember that blood is bringing a whole lot of stuff.
Exactly.
So if it can't get there, then it
dies off.
It dies, and then you have gangrene, and it literally rots.
That's why it's normally in the extremities, the furthest part away.
The furthest part away. That's the part where you find riches. The blood reaches the last.
Okay.
You know,
and also this, they suffer with
a lot of cold.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's what happens. So which is a sign of the low voltage, that cold. Temperature in those extremities. So now with the oxygen. Because like I said, I mentioned earlier about the Krebs cycle, that you can have all the good food you have, but if you cannot, you can't have oxygen to complete the process. You just as well, it's useless. And in fact, that food ends up rotting and creating other complications. So you need oxygen, but you need the right. That's why you find, Carol, that when we treat people at Health Haven, you find that we give a lot of medicines. But if you look at the lot of medicines that we give, we make sure that that liver is sorted, because that liver produces a lot of enzymes and is huge as an eliminating organ. It's involved in cholesterol, it's involved in sex hormones, it's involved in clotting, it's involved in so many other things.
And
so you find that in our treatment programs, we've got something that covers the liver. Make sure we sort it out. We've got something that sorts out the digestive system, where we beef up those hydrochloric acid, the pH, where we sort out the digestive enzyme, where we make sure that you eliminate. That's just another protocol. You find that we've got protocols that make sure that we deal with the inflammation. If that particular organ is already buggered, maybe it's the heart or whatever, we will sort that. If it's the lymphatic system, we'll sort. So you find that we go to all the systems that are affected and we put them in, and then a person says, I feel light. I'm no longer, my stomach is working. I've got so much energy. And so you find that's mostly the feedback that we get. My heart was racing, now it's because we work. But then, those things help to build up the voltage, but to a certain extent. That's why you find that a person will say, I've changed the diet like you suggested, and I've been fine all along, and now I'm starting to feel tired again. Because for as long as there are areas where you're losing your electrons, you find you're going to lose them, the voltage keeps going lower and lower and lower, and then you start having a problem again. So because it's not just the diet, it's not just sorting out those other areas, we've got to find a way of making sure you keep maintaining and improving. You keep maintaining and improving that voltage, which is where the oxygen chair has come in. But then we also have some equipment that literally works on the voltage, okay, which doesn't have to wait for the long way of doing this and that, which literally work on improving the voltage within minutes in that particular area.
It also could be used to maintain it on a regular basis or 6 monthly or whatever basis.
On a regular basis.
So this could add on to what you were explaining to me again, and I've heard this a million times, and I think I'm in awe every time I hear it. You've been working on a cellular level from the day you started. And this is just taking it to another level. You've always prepared and always treated the cell and always gone to the cause and never the symptom. So it's just, I just see the flow.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely perfect. The timing is just so appropriate. Yeah. So you're just going to continue now with your oxygen and your voltage.
And the voltage.
Wow, in conjunction
with Health Haven's part that's been played so far already.
So this is just going to top up on those existing clients to maintain their levels?
New and existing.
Wow.
Okay.
This is just going to put you in a league that you were designed to be in. Because it's just a continuation, again, of going to the root of the problem and never treating symptoms. But the cellular level still continues. I'm quite excited where you said it will still be for existing clients, because if you look at people's lifestyles, not all of them can maintain a lifestyle with the right water, and the right air, and the right food, and the right nutrients on a continuous basis. So they might slip a little, then they'll come back, like you said, and then can they just have a repeat? The oxygen's fine, but can they have a repeat? Where the clinics could fill in at that level to maintain. Because like we said earlier on, if you can attain that level of voltage in our bodies, we can eliminate all illnesses.
We can eliminate Carol without a joke.
Wow.
I mean, look, for instance, let me just make another example. That here's the person who's followed everything to the last letter, as I've advised, and has seen a remarkable difference. And then she comes and she says, I'm starting to get tired again. Okay. And shall I tell you that the first thing that would be a cause, let alone the diet, she says, I'm following the diet and and you find she's working in an office. Just like we, in this room, we've got aircon. Aircon is an electron stealer. Okay, so it takes away the electrons from your body slowly but surely. So the fact that you're sitting in an air-conditioned office is tough. It may be prestigious because you're not...
If you're cooling in summer.
But the person who's actually opening windows is better off than you with an air conditioner, because it's, let alone people who've got them in their rooms and they sleep at night and that aircon is going, and then you find they kind of understand why when they wake up they're feeling tired and dry and so on and so on, because all the time it's taking away from it. So there are so many things that steal our electrons, and for as long as our electrons are stolen, we're losing the voltage. I will give a tip. After every show in season 3, I'm going to leave the viewers with a tip.
Wow.
Okay, so starting from today. But before we get there, I have selected just one type of condition which people will not believe when I show them how our treatment program actually transforms them. And that is people that have got the sphenoid bone. That's now the spinal cord. You know, when this cranial area, our central nervous system, the cranial area. People that have got the loss of alignment, that are misaligned in the spine. Those that are even having the shoulder slightly upper on the side, on one side, and slower or lower on the other side, or people that have got a hip that's slightly up than the others are not even aware. You find that even us, everybody is kind of out of alignment, but you don't even realize it, because we only think it's only those people that are slightly lifted on one side. Meanwhile, just a small misalignment is actually putting you on a footing towards ill health from the word go.
Thembi, you talk about alignment.
Yeah.
I think people can relate to this. If your car's wheel alignments are out.
Exactly.
You say now this alignment would affect the body so badly just being a centimeter out.
Just being a centimeter out. Even worse in some cases where it's even more than just a centimeter.
My word.
It will mess up your health. It messes up your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system. It messes you up in a way that you cannot believe.
Tell me, what would sort of make this happen?
Okay. Now this same thing that you find that because you've had a problem of low voltage, say in the bones, because remember the bones are made up of cells too.
Absolutely.
It just takes a little long. I think it's 5 months for the new cells to be made in a bone. So you can just imagine how long it takes for you to be out of alignment.
Correct.
Because of that. So it is the voltage, Carol, that puts every organ in a state of disarray. Voltage, nothing else. And the voltage, as I've said, is if it's low, it means you cannot make new cells. And if you cannot make new cells, that's the start of one way towards. So those bones out of a continuous, and you must remember, if you look at our lifestyles, we sit.
Yeah.
Get out of the office or the home of your home into the car, or into the taxi, or in the train. We don't walk. From there, you get in your work, you sit, or you're standing in one place. So if you look at our lifestyle, it's bound to make us lose the body alignment. That is our lifestyle. But then coupled with that is the voltage, the way we eat, what we eat. No oxygen, no. Everything is made up to make sure we are just toast.
As you're talking now and saying like getting in your car, I'm just thinking you walk to your car, right hand open, get in.
You
open the door, get out. You're using all the same muscles.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, you're increasing muscle volume on the one side.
Exactly.
So we become lopsided.
Yes. So everything, it's one-sided.
And it's repetitive. It's
repetitive.
every day.
Every day. A lot of people say I'm stressed. And you find that they've got brain aneurysm. They've got edema. They've got clots. There's a lot of stuff that I pick up when I'm scanning people. Because you're out of alignment.
Catch us in our next episode where we show how this treatment aligned the shoulders as seen on the X-ray pictures with just one session of 2 minutes.